Hi there. What if I told you that you could stay in quarantine and you didn't need a sewing machine, but you could make your very own face mask out of stuff you probably already got in your house right now? I'm sure you've been doing some spring cleaning. I know I haven't. Anyway, don't throw out that Goodwill because you're probably going to need some stuff in it. Let's talk about things that you may have at home that you could use to make your face mask. Tightly woven cotton usually means to me dish towels. They're very tightly woven cotton. The ones that, are like this. Aprons, they are tightly woven cotton. These aprons right here, they make great things to cut up and use. Cotton blend fabric. That means cotton that's blended with other things, usually around 80%. I looked at a lot of tags in my closet and I have a lot of rayon clothes. Now I had to go to my husband's side of the closet. This one is a cotton blend. I cut this shirt up and I made it into this face mask. You gotta do the breathe test and you gotta see if you can breathe through it. And this one passed the test, but this one did not pass the breathe test. And this is why I always do the breathe test first, because I made it into something, cut it up, and then realized it didn't even pass the breathe test. So that one is a hard no. Did I mention there's an elastic shortage? Well, there is, but you don't need to worry your pretty little head about that. All you got to do is take some t-shirts or take some leggings and you've got your very own no-sew, elastic type, stretchy ties to go on your mask. Okay, cut a strip off of it, right like this, and then you pull it. And when you pull it like this, it turns into an elastic string. So it's a no-sew string, and I put it on here like this for the strings on this. And then I also used it for the back of this mask. These were my daughter's leggings and I just cut a piece off right here and I used it as the ties on this. I am building my filtration method on my DIY homemade mask off of the tea towel, the dish towel. I cut them into circles like this, but then they were still, rough on the nose. So I decided to use something that's very soft and very light, which is a pair of pajamas. I pop them right in like this, and then you have your filtration system. If you want to make your mask bend on the nose to fit on the nose for a tighter seal, I started using these tie wraps, these pipe cleaners, and florist wire, artificial flowers. And inside of there is wire, and you can bend that to go on the nose part.
All right, guys, let's get started. You're gonna need some lightweight cotton. I'm using pajamas, a t-shirt, and then you're gonna need some tightly woven cotton, and I am using a scrap of a dish towel here, a tea towel, and then a heavier dish towel with those little squares on it. I use those for my filters, and then an iron, a measuring tape or a ruler, something to measure with. You're gonna need scissors, a pencil, a needle and thread, and some kind of wire if you're doing the nose part. All right, let's iron our fabric. Now, you're going to put this pattern down. Now notice how I've centered it over that flower because I wanted the flowers to be centered. When you pin your fabric, I feel this is important. It's my theory. Don't put the pins in the middle of the fabric because you know what you're doing? You're poking holes in it. Now, pinch the fabric and then cut it near where you're going to be cutting. That way you don't waste the rest of your pair of pajamas or whatever you're using, and you can reuse them and you haven't cut big holes everywhere. So you cut out your pattern, just like I'm doing here. And then I'm going to flip it around to the other side, and that was going to make the other side of the pattern, you see, because you want both of your right sides to be facing each other. So just flip the pattern over and you'll be all right. Then we're going to pin this side, and we're going to cut it out just like we did the other one, where I pinched it a little and then cut close to the actual pattern to not waste fabric. And then going to do the same thing here with this white scrap of a tea towel that I had. We're going to take our pencil and draw a line where we are going to be sewing. It's about 3/8 of an inch in, and it's on the larger curved side of both of these pieces here. And if you have darker fabric, you could always use chalk to do it. It's not necessary, but it really does help keep the shape, especially the first couple of times you hand sew one of these. Okay, we're threading our needle now. You put the thread through the hole, the eye of the needle, pull it through. You're going to cut that excess off there. Now we are going to tie a knot. And then we're going to clip the excess off. Just make sure you don't clip the knot with it. Now we're going to sew on those lines we just drew on the large curved side of our fabrics that are put together, right sides together. Now, how do you start this? You put the needle through both pieces of fabric, and then we are going to go around once more, and then we're going to loop the needle back through that thread, and that makes a knot. Again, I'm going to loop the needle back through the thread and create another knot on the ends. Every time that we sew, we want to do that so that our masks are really strong and they don't come apart. And to sew it, all you do is just weave the needle in and out. That's all you got to do. And I'm showing this a few times slow here so you can, see how it goes, and then I'll speed it up so it won't be so boring. How's that? Now we are going to sew all the way down that line we drew. And when we get to the end, we are going to loop through again. And we're going to loop through one more time for safety. And now we're going to do the exact same thing on our second piece. Now, turn your pieces inside out and use your fingers to sort of get in there and, get all the nooks and crannies. And then we're going to line everything up and we're going to iron it. And this really helps give it the shape when you iron it. And now we're going to do that with our second piece. Now, we have our right side showing, and what we want to do is we want to put our right sides together. So I've got that one right side facing up of the white fabric. Now the flower fabric, I'm going to take the right side of the flower fabric and lay it onto the right side of the white fabric. So our right sides are facing together. The right side means the side that's going to be shown when it's finished, the pretty side of the fabric. Now we're going to line up our seams on the top and the bottom. And then we're going to do our edges. Now we are going to sew along the top and the bottom edges. Again, we're going to mark where we're sewing. Be sure and leave enough room at the top there if you have some wire, and you'll see when I put the wire in what I'm talking about in a little bit. And then you are going to sew the top and the bottom. There we go. We did our loop. We did another loop. Now we're sewing. Now if you notice in this tutorial, I'm sewing with a really dark pink thread. You wouldn't really want to do that because your thread will show. So I'm just doing it so you guys can see the thread in this tutorial. So you really, if you can pick a color of fabric or a thread that matches your fabric, it's better. But if you don't have anything that matches, who cares? Okay, now we are going to cut a 3-inch piece of wire. Hold the other end of it there so it doesn't shoot off when you cut it. That's a little, I've learned that the hard way. And then I'm just going to bend it back. If it's got a pointy end, you don't want anybody getting hurt. So you want to make sure those ends are really down and smashed together. Now we're going to put this piece of wire up at the top part that isn't sewed in between the two pieces of fabric. Now you could use a tie wrap for this. You could use a pipe cleaner for this. I'm using wire here. I said that I've also taken wire out of some fake flowers that I found in my house. Now what we're doing is we're sewing that top closed so that that wire is encased in there. So I'm just sewing that closed So we're just sewing this along the top edge to make an enclosure for the wire or the pipe cleaner or the twist tie, whatever you've put in there. And then on the ends of it, we're going to sew from the very top down to the little line that you originally sewed, the one with the pencil that you drew, you know, to make an enclosure so the wire doesn't go from side to side or up and down. And we're going to do it on both sides. Now we're going to turn our fabric inside out. Yay! Be sure and get the little nooks and crannies, turn it inside out, help to shape it. You know, you can stick your fingers in there and just poke it if it's like stuck a little where, or pull it like I just did there. And then we're going to iron it into the shape. I have a t-shirt here that I am cutting into 1-inch strips. And I'm just following across with my 1-inch guide right there. And I'm cutting 2 strips. Then I'm going to cut them off at the seam where the shirt is sewed up on the side there. And now I'm stretching it, and it turns it into the elastic tie for our face mask. Then I'm just going to stretch out the second one. We got our 2 ties now. And we're just going to check to see that they're going to fit inside. I folded that over to 3/4 of an inch. Just make sure that they fit inside, that they'll be able to pull through when you gather it. And then I measured that to make sure, and then I'm going to measure the other side so that the other side is the same. And then you can draw with the pencil where you want to sew. Make sure you get all 4 pieces of fabric, because you now have a front and a back put together, and there's 4 pieces. And you just want to make sure it's really secure, because you're going to be putting your string through there and pulling on it to tighten it. Now I have a bobby pin here to thread it through the hole. Be careful to not snag the bobby pin on the thread, you know, where you just sewed, and pull it through. A safety pin would have been better, but my safety pins were huge and they would not fit through the hole. There we have our tie. And then we're doing the second tie on the second side, the other side. Pull on the strings, and now we are finished with our mask. This part's optional. I just found some pony beads out in the garage. I thought it'd be fun. I just roll the end up real tight on the strap and feed the pony beads through, and then tie the end off. And I just did that on all 4 ends. Now I'm going to cut out the filter. I used like a waffle type dish towel, and now I'm cutting out a really thin piece of breathable cotton to go on top of it to make it softer. And then I'm going to pin it together and sew around it. And I am pinning and sewing the lightweight cotton to the dish towel. I gave you some other options up there that you could use for filters. I've got a t-shirt, a couple of pieces of real lightweight flannel, another piece of cotton there. I just like the dish towel because Cambridge University did a study and the dish towel came in right underneath the vacuum cleaner bag in effectiveness. I'm going to link that study down below, and also some places that are accepting face masks, DIY face masks that need them right now. And if you want to do that, I will put those links down there as well. And here's our finished face mask with the adjustable nose piece and the filter.
And we are done with our face mask and our filter. And I like to wear it like this. I put the filter in and I put it on, And I just adjust my nose here with that wire we put in, and I pop it behind my ears. You can also tie it around your head like this. And you can tuck it behind your ears for more support.